The Proper Football Live Show. Sundays at 6 p.m. for your football fix on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and PF Radio. Check out our website at properfootball.co.uk.
Good evening, everybody. It's another Sunday night, and of course, it's Proper Football Live, and it's FA Cup weekend as well, just to top it all off. So plenty to talk about, but let's introduce you to today's panel. We'll start with a welcome back to Greg. Greg, how are you? How you been?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, I've had 3 or 4 weeks off, mate. Good to be back. Happy New Year to everyone and whatnot.
No. Nigel, how have you been? Have you had a good week?
Yeah, it's been a good week. Good football on, and had a busy stream, so I've been busy.
Sorry, mate. What was that again? Sorry.
I just said I've been doing my streams. I've had a good week, good football, but not a lot of excitement happening in my life at the moment. So
no. Well, we'll make tonight exciting. And I'd like to introduce for the first time ever on Proper Football Live, it's Mr. Geoff Thompson, lifelong Darlington fan.
No, thanks for inviting me on. It's great to be part of it. If we can push a bit for the non-league side, it always helps. But I've had a good week until about 3 o'clock yesterday. But we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk more about that later on. Yeah. Absolutely. Just already, Ben Cliff's on. How are you, Ben? He says good evening and love the new intro. Yeah, Ben, I've got to be honest with you, we've got to shrink it a bit because it actually comes out a little bit too big on the screen and you don't get the full picture in. So we've got to do a little bit of work on that. And Ben Higgins is on, and it's Ben who will help do that work, actually. But good to have you on. Folks, if you're tuned in, then please share the show everywhere. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we are on Facebook. Get involved with the chit chat and enjoy the show, everybody. Right, okay. Got to open up the death of Vialli. Obviously, Friday morning. 58 years of age, which I think is the shocker, gentlemen. What another great ambassador. We lost Pele a week previous. We've lost Vialli, 2 great ambassadors of the game, without a doubt. Your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, it's sad, mate. It's sad. Obviously, he's a legend of the game. Obviously, in Italy, obviously they'll be mourning hard over it, and obviously massive legend at Chelsea. Spent time at our club, Watford, as well. Even though it probably wasn't really a success, and a lot of fans probably wouldn't remember that in high regard. But in terms of the guy himself, I've only ever heard positive things about the guy, that he's meant to be a lovely fella. So yeah, rest in peace. Obviously, wouldn't wish cancer on anyone. I was shocked to hear that how long he's had it for. Didn't he get diagnosed like 3 or 4 years ago or something? So he's had a shocking time of it. And obviously, it's really sad.
He fought it for 3 years, Greg. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and he
thought it was 2019. Yeah,
and the bastard, horrible disease come back. Yeah. Nigel, your thoughts on fellow ex-player?
He was Greg. He was a great player. I love watching him play. And like I said, it's sort of come out of the blue, really, because his cancer wasn't really made public, I don't think. But I've had cancer twice, so I was, you never get the all clear till you've gone 5 years with every 6 months I used to have a test to see whether it come back or not. And it's like playing Russian roulette with a gun. You never know whether they're going to come back and tell you that it's come back to you or whether you're okay. So I went through 5 years of agony, just not painful agony, but mental agony.
Do you know what? I genuinely, as I said it to you, Nigel, I genuinely forgot, and I do know that you've been through this. You've been through cancer. You've battled it. You've come out on top. But like you say, it's the mental agony that he would have gone through. The fact that it had come back. It's what a horrible disease.
Do you know what? I used to go for my checkup, and 3 times, 2 minutes before I was meant to go in, I turned around, put my clothes on, and went back home again because I couldn't handle the fact that they're going to tell me it's come back or you're okay. And that was it. It's mentally, it kills you. But rest in peace, Gianluca. He was a great player. People are only going to have good things to say about the guy and how good he was. Forget about his managerial career. It's what you do on the pitch, and that's what he'll be remembered for.
Yeah, without a doubt. Geoff, before you do, you're going to get a real gut. You're going to see my gut. I've got to tweak the volume of my speaker because I'm struggling with the volume. Bear with me. Okay, cool. Yeah, Geoff, your view.
Yeah, it was really, really sad news. I mean, I used to enjoy watching him play. He's one of them guys that I don't think you could dislike him playing, even if he was playing against you. I always watched him. He'd give 100%. And he always seemed one of the nice guys. Really, enjoyed playing by the look of it. Every time I watched him, he put 100% in. And it's, when you think about it, it's such a young age. That was the thing. I mean, what was he, 57?
58.
Oh, sorry, 58. And it's really sad news. And I mean, I'm the same as all you lads. My heart goes out to his family because, he should have had years and years ahead of him.
You've heard all the wonderful. I think Graham Souness was the most powerful one for me. I mean, almost Graham Souness in tears, which you'd never think you'd ever see. And his words were, "What a beautiful soul."
Yeah, what a beautiful human being, wasn't it? That's what he said, Gary. A human being, wasn't it?
Yeah, beautiful human being, and with a caring, beautiful soul. So my memory of Vialli, obviously did manage Watford for a year, and him and Ray Wilkins, another one who left us too early, and they were really, really good mates. But they come to Watford for a season. I hate to say it, but probably the worst year of his footballing career, if we're honest. Yeah. It didn't go to plan as they wanted, and my memory of that season really was the first game, and it was the first game of the season. It was in the Championship, and we were away at Man City at Main Road as well. So it's a while back, isn't it? And it was Kevin Keegan who was. It was Vialli's first game in charge of Watford, and it was Keegan's first game in charge of Man City, and it had a massive billing for a Championship game, and huge crowd. We took a good few up there to Main Road, and it was huge crowd in Main Road. Wonderful stadium, Main Road was anyway, and I was at that game, and unfortunately we lost 3-0, and that was pretty much prelude for not the successful season I think they'd planned on, but that was the year he was at Watford. But our thoughts out to his family, and too young, far too young. Okay, so we're gonna let me just check up on what we got coming in. Welcome, Geoff. That's from Ben. He said he watched Darlington away at Ashton. Very impressive. Jacob Hazel was a great player for that level, for sure. Ian Hell's evening, guys. You don't lose, you win. Or you learn. Rest in peace. That's probably a quote from Vialli. Evening, lads, from Dan. Dan, the man who's, I think he's out on a picnic or something. Not a picnic. I don't know. He's out for Sunday dinner, isn't he?
Who's up?
And my old mate Gary Lapthorne, hello mate, I'm so pleased to see you on there, China. And what was that one from Ben? Frank LeBeuf on Soccer AM was good too. I don't watch Soccer AM, I've got to be honest, but I'm sure he was. And I guess he would have talked about it. Was he not a teammate of Vialli, LeBeuf? Can't remember. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I wanted to talk about the FA Cup initially, but I'm going to talk about something slightly different in vein with the loss of Vialli. Now, Vialli was, I guess, one of the more significant foreign players that first come into the British game. And I just wondered, out of interest, because the player that stood out for me by far the most, I have to be honest, of one of the first foreigners into our game when before the big rush, for me was Klinsmann. A lot of people say Vialli, and I just wondered out of all the guys that came into the football in the early days of before we had the foreign Russia players in, for me, Klinsmann was the one. I was at his debut. He played at Watford in a friendly, which was his debut for Tottenham. I see him score 2 goals in the same season against Watford in the League Cup. But Klinsmann, for me, was the one that I think was the real thing. But a lot of people say it's Vialli, and I'm sure I agree as well with that. Greg, you're younger than us.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to have a completely different answer to you lot, but
you are, yeah.
I'm only 32. But growing up, obviously, like, you remember the United team and stuff like that. For me, so like, players like Cantona or someone like that when I was a kid, like. But I don't know. I'm 32. That's the first name that jumped out to me. I'll probably be able to think of someone else. But
all right, we're going to skip by you, young.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, 32 doesn't feel young, mate. But when you ask a question like that, it does make you feel young.
Because I'm trying. Yeah, I'll talk to my compatriots of a certain age. Nigel, you're obviously, as a player, what player stood out for you as being one of the inspirational foreigners that first come into the game?
I don't know, but when I'm thinking about foreign players that made an impact on the English game, for me the standout is Dennis Bergkamp at Arsenal.
Yeah,
I think he's a sort of like, he reminds me of De Bruyne, to be honest. But I think he brought something new to the game that we hadn't had over in England, and obviously he was a big part of that successful Arsenal side they had.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, Geoff.
Well, I'm going to surprise you. The first name that I thought about from sort of like my generation of coming in was the 2 lads who went to Ipswich, Muren, that Bobby took, Arnold Muren. And then I thought about Ardiles. They're the sort of players out. It was sort of like the first foreigners.
You're absolutely right, yeah. And there's me talking about Klinsmann having an impact, but way before that, and so Dan's just put up on there, Ipswich Town, Muren, had a few others
I think
on
who
there.
the other lad was. There was a pair of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a pair of them. Was it Torreson? Was it? I can't remember now.
I thought Kelly might have played against him, actually.
Well, they would have done, yeah. Kelly would have played against some of them Ipswich players.
Yeah, Brazil, Gates, all them lot.
But Ardiles, Ricky Villa, yeah, of course. Yeah. Way before Klinsmann. That we're going back now, early 80s, and no, so Franz Torreson, yeah, Ian Howells, thank you. Ricky Villa, yeah, so great. Let's just see what we've got. One more there. Thank you for all your input there. So it's Franz Torreson is the one from Ipswich. That's from Ian. And like I say, Dan, Ricky Villa, that goal he got in the replay for Man City, against Man City for Tottenham, was amazing. You got another one. Now, this one I've not heard. Bernd Trautmann.
German goalkeeper.
Sorry?
Man City. Is that Trautmann, is it?
Ben Cliff, that is. He's saying, growing up watching Stoke, the first foreign player I remember being wowed by was Peter. Oh, mate, I shouldn't have even started doing this. Geoff, I'm really crap at pronouncing names. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Peter Hoekstra.
What is it?
Peter Hoekstra.
Hoekstra. I'll go with that. Jan Lohman at Watford. There you go. I remember Jan Lohman, yeah.
I'll tell you a little thing about Jan Lohman at Watford.
Right? Do you play with Jan Lohman?
He was on the same team as me, yeah. And when Taylor was dishing out bollockings at half time, he'd have a go at Jan, and Jan would go, I don't understand. And the cheeky fucker understood everything. He used to go to Graham Taylor, I don't understand, like that. So I was laughing my head off next to him.
Do you know, it's interesting. I'm glad I brought it up now, because even I was a bit miffed, because I was thinking all this, and I'm thinking, when was the first real influx? And I'm thinking Klinsmann and then maybe Vialli. But it was way before that, wasn't it? It was way before that. And probably longer before even that, if we looked into it deep enough. But anyway, that was an interesting discussion. I'm glad we had it. So it has been FA Cup weekend. Now, let's have a little look at some of the games that have gone off this weekend. And I'm going to say, I'll be honest with you, I don't think last year was an amazing cup. Last year, I mean, Nigel, if you remember, I can't remember if you was on with us at the time, Greg, but there was so many, and there's been some great upsets, but there was a lot of much more non-league involvement. Only 2 clubs made it to the 3rd round, and that seems a real shame. It doesn't feel quite as good as last year because of the lack of non-league involvement in the 3rd round. That is a shame. Where did you guys go out, Geoff, Darlington? Who did you?
We went out in first round.
Oh.
We give you a miss this year. Do you know? I can't even remember who we played. I'd have to.
That's the glory of this show. We catch you out.
You have caught me out on that one. But who did we go out to? I think it was a team above us.
Yeah, let's just have it. But it is such a shame that we seem to have I don't know, a little bit of a lack of non-league involvement.
I think the TVs as well, Gary, are a disgrace, because if you look at the few non-league teams that are in there, right? You know, Chesterfield were at home to West Brom.
Yeah.
You had Wrexham playing Coventry, taking 4,500 fans there. Boreham Wood against Accrington. None of them games were on telly, and I had Wrexham games on telly in Wales, but none of them were on mainstream telly. And it's like, you know,
it's free. Sorry, you're right. Yeah. It's free, free non-league sides.
But they stick on, you know, United, Everton, and Wolves, Liverpool, and you think, what is going on? And do you know what? Right, it really, really pleased me that the Chesterfield game was a 6-goal thriller, finishing 3-3. And the Wrexham game was 4-3. It really, really made me smile, because I thought, do you know what? It serves the TV companies right. Because they would have looked at that and they would have been sick that they didn't pick them for TV.
And I did watch Sheffield Wednesday, Newcastle, but all the way through.
That's fair enough having that on telly. That's League One against Premier League. That's fair enough.
Yeah. But all the way through that, we were like I sat with my daughter's boyfriend, and it was saying, like, you know, why is Wrexham not on the telly? Why is Chesterfield? What is going on here? There's only 3 non-league clubs, and not one of them had a live game on. That's just
the whole mentality of the way they look at the FA Cup now has changed, doesn't it? It's just a money bag for
bollocks. Sorry for using bad language, but I get wound up by this constant eliteness that these TV companies have. That should have had at least one of them on. And like you say, look at the games: 4-3 at Coventry, 3-3 up at Chesterfield. What was the Boreham Wood score?
1-1. So they got a replay.
Right. Okay. Let's have a little look at then. Let's start off. Wrexham, big shock beating. That is a big upset. Well, I know they're Hollywood owned, but that's still a raving big upset. National League against Championship, and Coventry not a bad side. I don't know.
Gary, can I just butt in for 1 second?
You can.
Talking of the FA Cup, mate, Stevenage have just gone 2-1 up away at Villa.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting it on here. Yeah.
I thought I'd just throw that one out there. That's a shock.
So Villa were 1-0 up, and now.
And that's the 90th minute as well, mate. So that looks. Yeah.
No. And where's that at?
That's at Villa. Villa were 1-0 up.
Oh, I've got it here. Yeah.
Villa were 1-0 up.
Oh my God. Right. Well, look, the FA Cup started off on Friday night. There's no point talking too much about that one. Man United 3-1 with Everton. Palace, Southampton, Leicester 1-0 win at Gillingham. I'm only going to stop at the ones to have a conversation about that are worth talking about. Yeah. Preston 3-1 against Huddersfield. Reading beating Watford 2-0. Tottenham 1-0 against Portsmouth. So fair play. Portsmouth held them quite well there. And now here's one. Blackpool 4, Nottingham Forest 1. You've got to class that as an upset, haven't you?
Well, Forest made 11 changes, but they've got their squad's ridiculous, isn't it? But yeah, massive upset, because Blackpool are struggling, aren't they? So
yeah, but you got to look at when you look at the FA Cup, right? You've got to get it into perspective, right? We get upsets, right? But the teams are putting out second sides, they're putting out reserve sides, all right? So you know, there's no real shock if a team gets beaten; they're putting a reserve side out. So it all depends on, like you're saying, we haven't had that many upsets this year. Maybe these Premiership teams are now taking it a little bit more serious and saying, well, we ain't going to win the league, so we want a bit of silverware. and then they're taking it a bit more serious. So, fair play to the teams that do beat the bigger sides, but you're not putting out. If both teams put out full strength sides, then I think you wouldn't see so many upsets.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And like you say, although Forest's got a lot of players, I would imagine they need 2 change rooms, don't they? But that's a bad.
Yeah, and also the thing with Forest as well is them players that played like yesterday, they probably haven't all played together. Do you know what I mean? So for them, it's
they've got problems there, haven't they?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get over that. What you've said there, Greg, about Villa 2-1 down against
Villa, and you should see Villa's team as well. Villa have gone really strong. I mean, they've pretty much got full strength out.
I mean, heck, I can just imagine Steve Evans, their manager, now he'll be loving that because he's.
Well, they're flying, aren't they, Stevenage as well?
He's a horrible man.
The thing with footballers switch off. They're 1-0 up with 5 minutes to go. Concentration goes. Taylor used to drum it into us at Watford. Last 5 minutes of each half, concentrate. Because players switch off. They think the job's done. And that's just what's happened at Villa.
Yeah, that's mad.
I mean, well, they scored 88 for 90 their goals as well.
I can't say I'm upset, by the
way. If you didn't know, Geoff, Nigel used to play at Villa.
All right.
It was his best experience in his football career, but we'll leave it there.
Well, to be fair, Gary, when you were on about, and Cally was on about teams in the Premiership putting weakened sides out. I mean, Newcastle. I mean, I've spoke to you about it. Lord forbid if they ever win a trophy, but they should have put their best team out last night, because if they do win a trophy, there'll be statues put up there. And I can't, and I mean, it wasn't as if Sheffield Wednesday were a team that weren't in form. They're a big club of Sheffield Wednesday.
A massive club, and they played really well.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, well, I don't know who's it missed the target in the last few minutes. What's his name? Yeah. I mean, that was pretty poor, that. But I have no sympathy for them when they're dropping these players and getting knocked out by smaller clubs. I mean, like Leicester seemed to be a club that won the FA Cup a few years ago. If you watch this, they put a decent side out yesterday to make sure they didn't slip up. Yeah. So they're through to the next round. There's only so many trophies on offer every year, isn't there? So you may as well.
It's like Leeds. Leeds nearly messed it up, didn't they? They needed a 93rd minute equaliser against Cardiff, and ironically, Cardiff made more changes than Leeds did. So
I was quite surprised with the crowd there. I thought they'd have a full house. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of empty seats in the Cardiff ends. A lot of empty seats. Now I don't know if it's because of how the economy is at the moment, and people couldn't, and whether there were full price tickets. I don't know. But
I just say, when it comes to team selection, and you're talking about Newcastle and these big boys now, I'm sure sometimes the guys that own the clubs, they prioritise what they what they want. They want European football next year, Championship football. They want to win the league. They prioritise it, and maybe they are told, listen, don't risk our players in the FA Cup. We don't want it. So as much as I'm saying, and I totally agree with you, Greg, I think when he wins a trophy, he'll be up there with Shearer, the manager.
Oh, heck yeah.
But maybe it wasn't his decision. Maybe he was told, listen, we've got too much money invested in these players. We're doing well in the league, and that's our priority. We need European football. So it might have been sort of taken out of his hands a little bit.
Yeah, very true.
I can't remember who Sheffield Wednesday got in the next round, but it's one of them, the FA Cup. Like,
I'm going to bring that up shortly.
It's kind of like you get 2 or 3 nice draws, and before you know it, you're in the latter stages, and you kind of, for a team like Newcastle, Leeds, Villa, them sort of teams that haven't won a trophy for a long, long time. For me, it's an absolute no-brainer to take that cup seriously.
Villa and teams like Villa, they realistically, they ain't going to win the league. They know
exactly. Yeah. To be fair to Villa, though, looking at their lineup there, they have taken today seriously.
Well, yeah,
I think they've rested a few, but not anything major.
This is our chance of a bit of silverware. I'm talking about Newcastle are sitting 2nd or 3rd in the league now.
Yeah,
they've now got a serious chance of getting into Europe. So
and they've probably been told your priority is.
Yeah, with it being a business, as we've saying, they ain't football clubs no more. These are businesses, all right? And the the decision comes from the top man all the time. All right, without a doubt now.
Yeah,
and you also get, depending on where you finish in the Premier League, every place you get an extra couple of million, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
So, you know, Newcastle will be looking at that, their owners going, well, you know, if we finish, even if they finish 5th compared to 10th, they're getting an extra probably 8 to 10 mil. Do you know what I mean? So for them, it's, you know,
and if they get Champions League, that is just a gold mine, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're just going to flick through some of the other results, guys. Obviously, Bournemouth drawing 1-1 with Accrington Stanley. Then we've got Bournemouth losing at home 4-2 to Burnley, which not unexpected. I think Burnley are ripping up trees at the moment. They're creating a big gap at the top Championship. They're looking good under Matey Boy, and I'm saying Matey Boy because I forgot his bloody name.
Company.
Yeah. And Bournemouth. So I think it was fairly. Is it a shock? I don't think so. Obviously, Chesterfield 3, West Bromwich Albion 3. What a cracking game there. Fleetwood beating QPR 2-1. Another little bit of a shock there, without a doubt. I don't think QPR wouldn't have expected. I think they would have expected to try and go through there.
I saw someone put QPR's recent history up of the FA Cup, and I think in the last, I might be off here, but it was about 15 years or something like that, and they've never been past the 5th round. They've had a shocking FA Cup run in recent years. Well, certainly in the last 10, 15 years.
West Ham beating Brentford at Brentford for West Ham, probably a good boost for them, help them maybe get a bit of a winning way ahead because they need it. We've mentioned Coventry Wrexham, and as you said, 4,500 travelling Wrexham fans to the what is now called the the Coventry Building Society Arena. What a mouthful that is, eh? And to be honest, like saying, Sheffield Wednesday last night, great cup atmosphere. Just to say though, I must admit, that is a big old ground, Hillsborough anyway, and there was a lot of empty seats.
I noticed that, yeah.
The two sides were rammed, but the Cop End, I don't know, was it called the Cop End at Hillsborough?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I was surprised how many empty seats there were. Liverpool 2, Wolverhampton 2, and then today's results. Obviously, is that a full-time result?
Full-time Villa. Yeah, they lost, yeah.
So Villa losing at home to Stevenage, and as Greg has said, Villa putting out an half-decent side. Obviously, Chelsea getting a good Stoke in there up at Man City. No shock, really, is it? Nothing standing out today. Derby against Barnsley, same league, but I know mention it for Nigel. Barnsley getting a 3-0 win there through to the next round. Yeah,
they're doing well. They're on a little run at the moment.
So what we'll do, let's just check up on people's comments. Yeah, that's a good article in our website. Yeah, if you want to check out our website, for Simon visited the Terrace Culture Museum in Liverpool, and he's done a great article on that. If you want to check that article out, have a wander into the website it's along the bottom there anyway, properfootball.co.uk, plus lots of other stuff going on. We'll soon start having some Under the Floodlight interviews coming up, and I think we're going to have a really good one with Nigel there. Stevenage have won. Yeah, they have. That's mad though, isn't it? Losing it in the last 2 minutes. QPR, I remember they lost to Vauxhall Motors many years ago, and they haven't been the same since. When did QPR in the final? They that was back in the 80s, wasn't it? QPR playing in the cup final. I can't remember when it was now. It was in the early 80s, I think. What we got here, Stephen Party. Hi, guys. I was just watching Leeds United this afternoon. As Greg has already mentioned, quite a lucky get out of jail card, I guess you could say. And from Dave, West Ham United are rubbish in the Premier League. They done well yesterday, and they needed a win. And as they say, get a win in the cup, it may give you a boost and help you get some winning ways in the league. Who knows? And then obviously the cup finishes off tomorrow night, gentlemen, with Oxford Arsenal. So predictions. Let's have some predictions on that one, and we'll see. Geoff, what do you reckon? Oxford Arsenal.
Well, if I was an Oxford fan, I'd be having nightmares tonight. Depends what team they put out, but I mean, do you think they'd take a 3-0 defeat?
The thing is, have you seen who they've got in the next round if they win? They've
Right,
got to
we're
go
gonna do
to
that
City,
right
haven't they?
next. So that's we're going to do that next.
Who've they got in the next round?
Oh, they're
So if they
going
beat
to
Arsenal,
find
they got
that
to
in a
go to
minute
City,
now.
yeah.
Predictions 3-0. Nige.
I think it'd be more than that, to be honest. I think he's got him playing well down there. Even if he puts out a weak inside, I think it'd be far too strong.
Yeah. 4.
I'll say 3-1.
I'll go 4-0.
Yeah.
4-0.
4-0. Yeah, I think 2-0.
Yeah. I think he'll make up for Douglas and Darlington, to be fair.
Right.
They've got a big month coming up, Arsenal, haven't they? So he, you know, as much as he's going to want to do well in the cup and the conversation we've just had, that, you know, Arsenal have got a big month.
You're right.
United. I mean, so he's going to have to mix it up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think 2-0. I still think Arsenal are going to have too much in their reserve team, should we say? Right. Okay. So the draw is this. If you can see it, you're going to have to squint a bit, I'm afraid. So Blackburn Rovers against Forest Green Rovers or Birmingham City. That game was postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. So that's still to be played. Walsall against Leicester City. Nice little Premiership club there for Walsall. And again, like you said, Greg, Leicester do take it seriously. So Sheffield Wednesday, they've had a great draw, really. They've drawn at home to Fleetwood Town. They'll probably lose now. Can you? Yeah, Greg, you're looking.
No, I was going to say you've put the one up where the draw's copied, where it's the same sort of 6 teams copied over each other. So, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So if you look at the first 6 and then look at the bottom 6, it's the same.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you want me to read the draw out?
Yeah, read the draw. Oh, I see what you've done. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, read the draw out then.
Right, so you've got Preston against Spurs, Southampton, Blackpool, Wrexham at home to Sheffield United. I'd expect that to be on telly, that one, to be fair. Ipswich against Burnley, Man United against Reading, Luton or Wigan against Grimsby, Derby against West Ham, Stoke versus Stevenage, Blackburn versus Forest Green or Birmingham, which you said, Walsall versus Leicester, Sheffield Wednesday versus Fleetwood, it'd be Man City versus Oxford or Arsenal, Bristol City or that was a draw, wasn't it? Bristol City or Swansea versus Chesterfield or West Brom, Brighton versus Liverpool or Wolves, Fulham versus Sunderland, and what's the last one? Boreham Wood or Accrington against Cardiff or Leeds.
So we potentially could have Man City Arsenal.
Yeah,
in the cup.
yeah. And I'll tell you, not a proper cup tie as well. You could end up having Boreham Wood against Leeds, which would be a cracking cup tie. That if that happens.
Wrexham draw.
Wrexham, Sheffield United at home.
At Wrexham.
Yeah, yeah.
So
What's the Stevenage one, Greg?
Stevenage have got Stoke away.
Right.
To be fair, there's quite a few quite a few nice games there that I would expect the TV companies to jump all over. But then again, I said that in the third round, and all the non-league teams got left out. So who knows?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we've got Mark Adams just said, "What's this FA Cup thing you all talk about?" Ben Cliffy reckons Arsenal 3-0. Okay. So all right. Cool. That's the FA Cup. That's the draw. Go on, Stoke. Tough game for us, in all fairness. Okay, so what we're going to do now, time is ticking on. Now, I'm going to do, I'm going to go with, no, I'll tell you what we're going to do now. Let's have a little chat about Darlington with our man, Geoff. So, Darlington, you've supported them all your life, haven't you, Geoff?
Yeah, since the age of about 11. I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's a long time ago.
You've seen the demise of the club, obviously. You were a league club.
Yeah, it was. In fact, it was, I think, 12 years ago yesterday. We went to Barrow, what we did think potentially was going to be our last game before the club went bust. Obviously, it was a big fundraising effort, and we got to the end of the season. And then the conference kindly absolutely hammered us, and we got put in the Northern League. And and it's been quite a journey over the last 12 years. We've, we are a fan-owned club. We don't have our own ground. We have to rent it. There's hardly anywhere of making off-field revenue. So the club, if you told me 12 years ago that we'd be in this position, I would have said no chance. I think we are in a false position at the moment, if I'm being honest. The playoffs, I would think by come the end of the season, because there's quite a few teams around us who've got games in hand.
Kings Lynn being one of them, they got quite a few games in hand, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they got a lot of money, that club.
Yeah. I would settle if you said to me at the end of the season we finished, I don't know, 6th or 7th and win the playoffs. That's fine. Our big issue is if we did win the playoffs, is the standard of our ground. I mean, we have put some plans in that were released, I think earlier this week, 2 sites around Darlington where we may in the future build a ground. But obviously, then you're back through all the fundraising and everything. But we would, to be fair, if we could get our home form right, we would be well on the way. It's just our home form at the moment is terrible.
You say that obviously you're top of the league and you crashed 3-0 yesterday at home, didn't you?
Yeah.
Chorley, was it? Or?
Yeah, Chorley. It was, all I would say is first 20 minutes, their keeper should have got sent off. He was last man, going round, knock it in net. Should have been 1-0 and then who knows what was going to happen then. But to be fair to Chorley after that, they tore us apart. Don't care what anybody says. They were far better than us. Whether it was fatigue, I don't know, because like I say, we had a really good result on. We played a day later, obviously on Monday, so they'd maybe had a day extra rest, but we just weren't at it. And the normal thing, we had a really decent crowd there, 1,700, which for a cold, wet
good crowd.
January.
We spoke yesterday, didn't we? And you wasn't expecting that size of crowd, were you?
No.
You didn't think you'd get that so?
No, it fared up in the afternoon and people came out. But we've got the best goal scorer in the league playing for us, Beck. And actually, I noticed somebody in the comments had mentioned, was it the lad who had Kerrs National, who was on about Hazel? 2 lads are brilliant up front. They're just banging the goals in.
Yeah.
But where we are let down, unfortunately, is our back 4. I mean, David Wheat has been injured from. When's the last time?
Actually, someone's just mentioned David Wheater. Said he's a big name.
He's been out the team with an injury for it must be 2 months.
He was at Borough, wasn't he?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Borough, Bolton, and where else was it? A few teams.
Yeah. So actually, Geoff, Mark's just put on here. He's played a handful of games all season. Unfortunately, Ben, I'd be surprised if we see him play anymore.
Yeah, he's got I think it's a back injury or something like that. And we miss his just mainly his talking and his positional play to the other centre halves and the defenders. I think not so much because obviously he's getting on, but that's what we miss. And I tell you what, it's just gone through my mind. It was 10 years ago, and he's a player who should have gone to the World Cup that we actually had on our books, that we got a lot of money for at the time, and he went to Fulham. Dan Byrne. He actually come up through Darlington's youth team back then when we because I think we got something like 140 grand off Fulham for him. And it shows even, I mean, when we were going on before about foreign players and that, I don't think the Premiership and the Championship as well, I'll bring them into it, go down the leagues and look at some of the players. There's good players at our level that don't get the opportunities. They're all, they might not be big, they look at our clubs and think we don't get these players. There's loads of good talent out there.
Sorry, Geoff, so interrupting you there, maybe Nigel might like to cut in on this as well. So are we saying that, do you feel that the Premier League, and you've included Championship, are more interested in bringing players in from abroad than they are looking down at homegrown talent?
I'd agree with that.
I think it's right there, but the side Chelsea's and Man United's and Man City's, their youth setup's like a massive catchment net. So, you know, there's one at Darlington that's doing really well that you think's a good player. It's one, he's got to go and prove himself amongst all them other lads. And secondly, like, you know, sort of, I'm sorry, I'm not being horrible, but League One, League Two, below that, there's a massive gap in standard of football between the Championship and them, you know. And so it's all very well saying this lad's really good, he's playing for Darlington, but, you know, it's a massive jumping up to the Championship and Premiership.
Nigel, so, I mean, obviously back in your day, there was a different way into the game, yeah, to top flight football. But if you was a young man now, right, if you're a young man and you wanted to just start your career, I mean, I'm not asking, it's a really difficult question, but I mean, how would a young man this day and age get an opportunity without, you know, is it a case of you've got to get picked up as a kiddie by these big clubs, or you ain't getting in the elite football bracket?
Listen, these clubs are so big. They've got scouts in every corner of the country. You know, there'll be people in Darlington that have got contacts with Man City and say, "We've got a lad here, you need to have a look." That's how we discovered John Barnes. Taxi driver rang Graham Taylor up and said, "There's a lad playing for Wildstone." And he played in a reserve match against Arsenal that week for Watford, and they signed him after that. So it is possible, but you know, like, again, it's like this is a business, and they want the best young players, they want the best overseas players, they want the best home players.
Yeah. So someone's just put up there Jamie Vardy. That's all they put, and I know what they're saying. They're just saying, well, Jamie Vardy's an example. Jamie Vardy come onto the scene 10, 12 years ago, did he?
10 years ago.
Could that happen today? I mean, we're talking now an older gentleman, 25 years old he was. Is there any possibility that a 25-year-old player could get picked up by a Premier League club today?
I think Geoff made a fair point, right? So obviously he was saying about that level, Darlington, obviously it's National League North. Obviously I go and watch Stourbridge a little bit, and they're in the league below. They're in the Southern Prem Central. They had a defender called Dan Scarr, and when they had their FA Cup run, he impressed. He got snapped up by Birmingham City. Didn't quite make it at Birmingham, but they was a Championship team at that point. And now he's playing for Plymouth, and he's a centre back for them, and he starts week in, week out. I feel like I've even seen him captain them. And obviously they're League One, but they're at the top of League One. And that's a player that, okay, we're not talking Jamie Vardy level, but that's kind of what Geoff was saying. It has happened. Someone in that sort of Southern Prem Conference kind of level has been snapped up by a team in the second tier, ended up playing top end of the third tier, and he's still sort of playing at that level now. So I think it can happen. I just think it doesn't happen very much, and it is rare.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen when they go straight into a Championship. And
no, you've got to find your level. Yeah, 100%.
Back in my day, it was like Graham Taylor came to Watford with a 6-year plan. He was given time to develop players. He could bring players in from lower clubs and work with them. And when they were right to go in the first team, they'd go in. But this day and age, they want success straight away. So they're not going to have the patience to bring in a lad with a bit of a potential maybe and wait for him. They want it straight away. They want to return.
What you seem to find as well now is, you might get these players that are sort of great players in National League North, South, or even below, and they'll get signed by a Championship team, League One team. But usually they get loaned out either back to the team they've come from, or maybe 2 or 3 leagues above. Do you know what I mean? So it's a work in progress, isn't it? They're not, like you say, Cally. They're not just going to go straight into the fold. Vardy was an exception, obviously. Will you see anything like that ever again? Who knows? Especially at his age, because he obviously broke through late. But I don't know.
Well, we've just sent a lad back. We've had him on loan from Borough, young lad, academy lad. Because what I was trying to get at, Cally, was also these academy players. It's like tippy-tappy football. They need to come into the man's game. And we've been quite fortunate with a few loans. And this lad come in, Dodds, he's way above our standard. He can go to probably a first division club on loan and do it. Now, he's come to us, and now the rumour is clubs are in wanting to sign him. So he's never going to get it Middlesbrough side at the moment. But there's a couple of Scottish clubs looking at him thinking, you're talking like maybe 55, 60 grand for the lad. Now he's got these options, and he's only got them options because he came to our club And he got seen, like Cally said, the scouts watching all over. And he was just, he was star performer every week while we had him on loan.
I was actually, when I was working in Darlington as a DJ, my mate Dave Penny, who played at Derby, he was in charge of Doncaster. And they were playing Darlington that night. And I got asked to go and scout a player that was playing for Doncaster. Because Dave Penny said, "What are you doing here?" I said, I'm looking at a player. And he said, "Who is it?" I couldn't tell him who it was. It was one of his players, centre forwards. So that's what I mean. Like there's scouts everywhere.
Yeah. So they are there, and
we were on. Penny was unlucky with us, Cally. Yeah. He was our manager, and we were romping away with it. And I think it was the first time we went into administration. I can remember the night. It was a night game. We played, and he came in and says, "We're going into administration." And bang, we just dropped down, came out at playoff. I think we ended up in playoffs at end of season, but we were walking away with league.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on Darlow. Obviously, obviously the troubles you've been through last sort of 10, 15 years. I remember, obviously, you guys built that lovely ground, which obviously ended up backfiring and everything like that. But I remember the ground.
Let me stop you there, Greg.
Yeah.
We didn't build that lovely ground. One man built that lovely ground.
Is that ground still standing, or has that been completely flattened now?
No, it's still standing.
It's still standing.
The rugby club have it, but it's basically it's like a rust bucket now. There's been no maintenance on it.
That's mad, because I remember, like I remember when it was newly built, and it was just like, Christ, this is a hell of a ground.
20,000.
Completely messed Darlington up, didn't it? It's a shame.
Oh, that man! Somebody's been posting pictures of the old Phaetums, and you go about the good old days. Well, our ground, Cally will have seen, our ground when we were at Phaetums was brilliant. You came out of the railway station, you walked down, you turned left, you went to the ground, you went past a cricket field. It was ideal. You had all the local, it was in the town centre. So you couldn't, I've never heard a visiting supporter when they came to Phaetums ever say, any bad words about the ground.
No, proper ground, yeah.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to say, are you all okay if we run into a bit of extra time today, because the show is just going really, really well, but we're running out of time, and there's still some subjects we need to cover, and it's been such a good show, I don't want to not cover them, so we might run over 5 minutes or so. Are we all okay with that?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, lovely, brilliant. All right, well, look, just quick one question then about, I just mentioned Macclesfield. Ben just wanted, Ben, you're someone that needs to come on this show, mate. Get in touch with me. I think you should come on, because you've got such an amazing knowledge of non-league football. 4,200 at Macclesfield against Leek in the Northern Premier League. 4,200. My God, what sort of average attendances are you getting at Darlington, mate?
We get about 1,600 each game, because you got to remember, we hardly get any away support coming to our ground.
Because you're so far, yeah.
It's just all
you take good away support, though, don't you?
Yeah, we take probably 250 to 300 to every away game. Mate,
that is good away support, mate.
There's some huge teams in that National League North, though. You look at Chester are down there, and some of the teams that are down there, Darlow, and even in the National League South, and even lower than that. It's mad. Some fantastic.
You just got to look at the relegation
in as well. They're supported well.
Yeah, so it's all ex bloody professional clubs. Well,
I had a quick look then. I think there's 6 ex-league clubs there, Greg, in our division.
Yeah.
And you think you like Chester? Chester. Well, we were always, we were mid-table to the bottom, but we were an established league club. And it's just, going up to the conference now is one heck of that's one heck of a league now.
One thing I would say as well is there's literally very little between the top end of the National League and the bottom end of the League Two. There's nothing in it. That's why all the teams that manage to get into the Football League, sort of stay up, and if not, go up again. You look at the Forest Greens of the world, and that there's not much between it at all, and probably a conversation for another day. They're looking at obviously adding another spot, aren't they, for promotion into the Football League?
I'll finish this conversation off with backing up what you just said, really, because Ben made a really good comment that which just mentioned Macclesfield, and we know that they are a well-off.
They're another one.
They've got players that have been offered League 1 and 2, and they've turned it down to stay at Macclesfield. because they know where the bread's buttered. That probably says it all. But time for the funnies, I think. Right, okay. Ben, if you're watching, this is Ben Higgins. If you're watching, we've got to sort that video out, mate. It's cutting out that first bit. Right, okay. So I've got a couple of funnies that we'll quickly get through. First of all, this one.
Actie 4. Oh, kan ook. Omhoog! Ja! Wat legend. Actie 4.
Do that. I didn't mean to play it twice. It weren't worthy of that. It was funny, but it weren't worthy of 2 plays. Not like that one last week. But right, so that was that. And oh mate, that reminds me. Well, I used to go and play 7-a-side football down on them AstroTurf pitches. Right now, in mind with the FA Cup, right, we dug this old ad out. Okay, this old ad, and we're going to play it.
Would you believe it? This Gruffy bunch has reached the 3rd round of the FA Cup.
I know. Whole town's talking about it.
Smarten them up a bit. I want to be real proud when we walk out to inspect the pitch at Wembley. Well, I know you can fit the whole team off the peg, and I won't have to flog me striker to pay the bill. That's him in the safari suit. Mustard, isn't he? Shall I make the check out to...
Gunn and Company? Yes, sir.
Hey, boss, we've drawn Arsenal away.
Never mind, sir. Better luck next year.
Pull him back.
Oh, mate, I remember that ad. That's how sad it is. I do remember that ad. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I thought that was a great one to have being its FA Cup weekend. Dun and Company. We've drawn Arsenal. Oh, put them all back. Absolutely brilliant. Right, okay. So we are going to quickly move on. I'm going to duck out. I might just have a little... Next up, we've got the good old days. Jeff's going to have a very short memory for us. Got to keep it tight.
Nigel, FA Cup game, do you want, Gary?
Bear with me for a minute. Bear with me. Nigel will obviously have a short memory of the FA Cup. Bearing in mind, he's actually played in a final. I've got one little memory I'll share, but let's just... Got that one, gal. Sort your life out, son. What one is it? Oh, I can't find... There we are.
It's all over. It is now. It's 4. And Charlton.
Right. Okay, then. I'm getting a little bit of interference coming through. I don't know if people can hear that. Let me know if you can, people. But I am getting a bit of interference coming through. I don't know why. Right. Okay. So, why are we getting that interference? Okay, let me know if you can hear interference, people. Oh, I know, I shouldn't have done that. Right, bear with me, folks. I'm having a right bobbler here. Right, okay. So, I'm having a bobbler. It's look at the time. Right, the good old days. Nigel, come on, let's kick off with you.
FA Cup memories. Well, you know, it's always going to be the one that we got to the final on. And so many things happened during that journey. I mean, we played Luton, I think, in third round of the Cup?
No, Charlton was the 3rd round.
Oh, was it the 4th round in Luton?
Yeah.
You know, we were sort of like, we were 2 good sides, and one never used to beat the other all the time, but they were a bit of a bogey side sometimes, just Luton. So when we beat them in the Cup, I actually turned round to John Barnes, said, we'll probably go all the way now. And I remember when we got to the quarterfinals and we turned up at Birmingham, and there was so much crowd congestion, we couldn't get the coach to the entrance. So we ended up turning up about 15 minutes late, 2:15, I think, got off the bus. We done a warm up in the dressing room, went out for the match straight away, and we won 3-1. So when we played at Villa in the semis, Graham Taylor then says to the bus driver that he wants us to deliberately be 5 minutes late, not too late, but so he turned up about 5 minutes after 2, and we won that one. So they're the memories I've got of the FA Cup, because that was probably the best that we ever done in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come to you, Geoff. I'll quickly add to that, because I was just going to mention the one memory I got about that winning year in '84. Greg wasn't even thought of then, but anyway, was the third round was Charlton away at the Valley. That was the third round, and we won 2-0. And I'll never forget this guy behind me saying at that point, and similar to what you had, he said to me, I remember he talked to his mate, and he went, "We're going all the way this year." And we did. I remember that, yeah. And, they were 2-0 we won. But, you know what? And the FA Cup itself was an amazing.
I can't even remember any of the matches before the Luton. Because for me, the Luton game was so significant that we won that. But
it was for everyone.
I couldn't even remember who we played in the previous rounds or whatever. So
yeah, brilliant. Okay, Geoff, come on in.
Quick one. Mine would be 98. We were due to play Burnley in the first round, and that season there's a river next to the ground at Feetham's. The River Skern. The pitch was getting waterlogged all the time. We had loads of postponements. They even came up with an idea of putting 10,000 worms on the pitch to irrigate it and what have you. Steve Gibson rings our chairman up and says, "Look, you can have Riverside." So we played Burnley at the Riverside, and we were 2-0 down. 2-0 down, about 20 minutes to go. Their forward goes through, cleans our keeper out, he gets sent out. Stan Turnham, their manager's going mad on touchline. But they're 2-0 up, only 20, 15 minutes to go. Last 10 minutes, still 2-0 down. We come back and score 3 goals in the last 8 minutes to win it 3-2. The big prize was we were on Sky playing Man City in the next round live. It was worth thousands to our club. And we played them live on a Friday night. It was a 1-1 draw. And we got a trip to Main Road on a Tuesday night. And there was about 8,500 people in, and about 2,000 of them were Darlington fans. That's one of my memories, but I'll never forget that night at the Riverside beating Burnley.
Brilliant.
It was like you say, it was the magic of the FA Cup.
Yeah, and that's what people like. I know the big clubs now, and there are obviously a lot of big club fans that are not interested in anything else other than their own club and their own status. They don't realise that the FA Cup still has that effect on so many people. We must never, ever let that go away. I just want to quickly, a couple of comments that have come up about people and their memories. Good old days for being a Stoke fan, obviously beating Bolton 5-0 in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. And then obviously losing in the final to Man City 1-0. Even though we lost, I was very proud. Mate, losing to Man City in an FA Cup final, I would be proud of as well, trust me. Because you do not want to lose fucking 6-0 to them.
Yeah.
Right. Another one was being a Weymouth fan. There's not too many great FA Cup memories, although it is 40 years ago today that we were last in the third round, the 8th of January, 1983. Cambridge United away, and we lost 1-0. Yes, I'm that old. Well, we all are, mate, except for Greg.
Do you know what, though? Do you know what? Stories like that is why the TV companies wind me up, because, if you think of Weymouth fans, right? They've not seen their team involved in an FA Cup third round draw. They've not had a big occasion. They've not had the cameras down at their ground or anything in that many years. If you take a 32-year-old Weymouth fan like I'm 32 years old, right? None of them have even experienced that. What we've experienced. It's a huge moment, the FA Cup, for so many teams of that level that have never even seen it. And, it just kind of puts it all into perspective for me. The top teams take it for granted, mate. And it's
It's the same thing with players, Greg. If you're playing for a lower side, in League 2 or something like that, or even the conference, you might be honest with yourself and say, look, this standard of football is probably the best I'm ever going to get to. But you get drawn against Man United in the third round of the Cup, And that's like all your dreams come true, isn't it? Because you're never going to get to play at Old Trafford apart from the FA Cup or the League Cup, or whatever it is. So, it matters to the players as much as it does to the fans,
And do you know what as well? Like, obviously, we talk about a lot on here about non-league football and stuff. And obviously, I'm a Watford fan, so is Gary, whatever. But and I want my team to do well in the FA Cup. But this year, obviously, injuries sort of couldn't be helped and stuff like that. But since moving up where I live now, I take an interest in Stourbridge, and I've met quite a few lads down there, and proper Stourbridge fans. They don't support anyone else; they're Stourbridge fans, a bit like yourself, Darlington fan. It's that's what they do. That's their meat and drink. They go every single week. They wear the heart and badge and whatever. And it's like when the FA Cup comes around for them, and they're in the fourth qualifying round and the first round. I really want them to do well. Do you know what I mean? I do love nothing better for them to have a good old cup run and see a league team come down to Stourbridge and stuff like that. And it's just moments like that. It's proper football. That is.
With all what we're saying in mind, and I just want to mention again, Ben, please get in touch. I would love to get you on the show, mate, because your knowledge is amazing. Just to mention there, he supports Stoke, but he also supports Kidsgrove Athletic and travels everywhere with Kidsgrove. We know that. And he's put in there, and it sums up the FA Cup again for what Greg's been saying. His best memory is actually losing in the last preliminary round of the FA Cup against Hartlepool away. 1-0 draw, 5 hours there, 5 hours back, but they loved it. A big club in Hartlepool. And that's in the preliminary rounds, and they still hold that as a best memory. Giving people memories like that, that's what sport is about. It can't always be about money. I just got to quickly, Andrew Ban, away to Nottingham Forest in 2005, the first round best memory of my life. Then Sky TV, etc. Here for a replay, which we lost. Even this season, we drew with AFC Wimbledon at home. Then had a fab trip. That's Weymouth club in decline again. Andrew, I know we've spoke. I got a little soft spot for Weymouth, I must admit. Right, okay. Sort of what I wanted to. This is too long. We're going to have to carry on this discussion maybe next week. But there's an element of it. So I wanted to bring up these proposed changes that are being proposed, and let's understand who they're being proposed by. They're being proposed by the owners and directors and that of the top clubs for changes throughout that will affect the whole football pyramid. There's so much we can talk about here. We can't do it all now. We will continue this next week and probably for weeks to come. But the one element that I would like to discuss, because it's topical today, and then we'll carry on with this discussion next week, is the FA Cup replays. And the top clubs, because of fixture congestion, feel that the FA Cup replays should be stopped once the big boys get in. Maybe some people will agree with that. I don't, because I really don't see that a handful of replays for the big boys is going to really make any real bloody impact to their season, quite frankly. I don't see it is going to. What it will impact is there are many, many, many clubs that have probably survived because they got that replay. I think only a few years ago, I think about Cambridge United. They got the draw against Man United up at the Cambridge. God, been there and all. Abbey Stadium, or I don't know what it's called now, but up at Abbey Stadium, and they get the draw. They go to Man United. They take about 7,000 fans of them for a night game up to Man United. They get 60-odd thousand in the crowd. They make a mint. Probably kept them afloat. I completely disagree with this element within this proposed bullshit again of changing our lovely game. I think you've got to allow the opportunity for these little clubs to have their moment, for their fans, as we've been discussing, to have their dream, for the players, as Nigel rightly said, to have that moment. If we take the replays out, then there's no chance ever of the likelihood of where Cambridge United, if they're drawn at home, and they get that draw like they did, and we've seen it a number of times. I still don't see how the fixture congestion is what it is. And then when you couple it up with all the other changes, and I'll quickly mention them before I let you guys talk about it, the other changes, and we're not going to go into detail on these, by the way, just the FA Cup one, but they're talking about if you're in Europe, you don't have to play in the Carabao Cup, or you can play your under-21s, and there's so many other things, all designed to benefit that elite football group again. They are trying, the EFL is saying they want £300 million a year from the Premier League to put into the pyramid. The elite clubs are saying we'll give you 120, not even half of what the EFL want. The EFL is saying that they will give in to some of these demands on the basis that they get that money. Anyway, next week we'll continue that, because what I foresee with all technology is you're going to have an elite tech football and then football. You're going to have two different types of football in the future, because the way they're taking the top flight football with all the technology and all the rules, the football below that ain't going to have the money to do it. So they're going to be football as we know it. And up there, you're going to have some computerized load of bollocks, in my view. But there we are. Call me a dinosaur. Happily, I will accept that accusation. Anyway, what are your thoughts, Nigel?
Yeah, I'm with you again. Like I said, sort of when you got the lower teams playing the big boys, a draw is a victory to them. It's another game. If you've got a home game against the big sides, then you get the draw. You're going to the big grounds. Then I just think they're trying to change too much. And back in my day, if I weren't playing 2 games a week, I got the ump about it. So players are fit enough. You got a situation down at Watford where loads of players are getting injured, but that's got to be something else that's going on. But
yeah, of course it is. It's either a bad training regime or they got shit physios.
Don't try and change the game too much. That old quote: "Football's simple. Keep it simple." And at the moment it's just too much.
They're taking away that game we all loved, whether you were a player or whether you were a supporter. That game that we fell in love with all them years ago is being changed beyond recognition. That's the way I see it. Geoff, what about you, mate? What's your opinion? Being a non-league fan as well.
Well, there's no way I would want replays stopping. I mean, it brings extra in. But these teams, they've got big enough squads. We've spoke before. They've got, plenty of players. Bring them in. But like I say, no. I mean, we've got it in the FA Trophy. The FA Trophy games now, there's no replays. Similar to I think the League Cup's the same now, and it just goes to penalties. I don't even think now in the FA Trophy games, I'm not sure if we have the 30 minutes. I think it goes straight to pens, but I'd have to check on that. But there's no way you can take replays away. I mean, that's what you go. If you defend it for 90 minutes, you've got a draw, and you've got, even if it's just like your Watford, you've got Watford in a replay down in a little club like us. We do cartwheels if we got something like that at our ground.
Yeah, Greg, young man.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Gary, when you said that it's all designed to benefit the big clubs, and it is.
Of course it is.
And I think that, Geoff, we were saying then as well, you look at Chesterfield yesterday, they was really disappointed conceding the 93rd minute equaliser to West Brom. But when their assistant manager was interviewed after the game, he went, "It hurts now." He went, "But we've got a replay at the Hawthorns." And he went, "And give it a day or two when the dust settles." He went, "We'll be buzzing with that." He went, so you got Chesterfield of the non-league going to West Brom, and okay, it's not a glamour tie for most who are looking at it, but for them it is. It's a big, and it's more money, so
especially their younger fans, Greg.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like you say, it's more money in the bank as well. But it's like you said, Gary, it's all designed to benefit the big clubs. And it doesn't matter what ideas they're coming out with, whether it's changing the structure of football or changing, rules in the game or whatever it is. It's all designed to benefit one set of teams. That's the frustrating thing at the moment.
We really got so much more to say about this because there's these. I'm going to touch on it now, and then we'll carry on next week. Geoff, listen, this conversation's got a lot of legs, and would you like to come on next week so we can finish it?
Yeah, of course. Well, there's no problem.
Right, there's so much more to talk about this. They're proposing, and I'm going to just quickly touch on it, folks, because I'm going to stop now. But they're proposing 60-minute games. And have you heard all this bollocks?
Well, where'd you get this from, Gary? 60 minutes.
I mean, we put something up. There's a whole load of proposals. This is a really good discussion. We're going to carry on next week, people.
You'll be telling me next they can't head a ball.
Well, you know, like I say, the thing I want to get to the bottom of with you guys, and we can't do it now because we're already 11 minutes into extra time. And well, actually, I suppose every football-related thing in Top Flight will get a lot of extra time the way they go. But it is the whole concept of I foresee there being two different types of game. To totally, you know, you're going to have football as we know it, played down in lower league and non-league, and then you're going to have this elite football that is completely dominated by technology and the TV companies wanting their fix of ads in some way. This is just the start of the extinction of the game at that level. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I really want us to dig deep into this next week. So all of those that are listening, join us again next week. Thank you for joining us this week. Thank you for all your input. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We won't have last words today because we're going to carry on this next week because this is a really, really hot topic of discussion, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more to come in over the course of the week that will add to this discussion. So part 1, part 2 next week. Geoff, thank you for coming on and thank you for agreeing to come on so we can finish this next week. As always, Nigel, thank you again, mate. And I can't wait to get to the bottom of this again. Don't forget, catch Nigel on Mixcloud. Hang on, I forgot to do it last week, didn't I? Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Where are we? There we go. There we are. Look, there you go. If you want to catch a lot more of Nigel playing banging tunes, there you go. There's his handle.
9 o'clock tonight.
9 o'clock every night of the week till the early hours. Greg, thank you. Are you all right for next week, by the way?
Off the top of my head, I am. I'll let you know for definite.
If not, I'm sure. I don't know if Dan's available.
I don't think I've got any plans, right? But
if not, Dan, you're on the subs bench now for next week, mate. Now, I really want to dig into this with you guys and get the people involved because I think such an important discussion. Right, that's it from me and the team. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you all next week. And have a lovely week. Have a safe week. And I'm gabbling on because I need to find the finishing video. There we go. Got it. Goodbye, all.
See ya.
The Proper Football Live Show, Sundays at 6 p.m. for your football fix on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and PF Radio.